Date: August 6, 1945. Time: 8:15 a.m. A single explosion, an explosion so powerful that within seconds, millions of people in Japan were sent into an eternal sleep. That morning became the most horrific and painful morning in Japanese history. People were heading to their workplaces. Children were leaving for school. Everyday life was moving normally in homes and on streets, just like any other day. Suddenly, people noticed something falling from the sky. Within seconds, it hit the ground, and the moment it touched the earth, a massive explosion occurred. Thick smoke filled the air. A gigantic fireball rose into the sky. Destruction was visible everywhere. For a moment, it felt as if the sun itself had descended onto the earth. At the explosion point, temperatures reached nearly 3,000 to 4,000 degrees Celsius. Then, on August 9, 1945, at 11:02 a.m., another catastrophe fell from the sky onto Japanese soil. Soon after this, Japan laid down its weapons, and World War II came to an end.
This was the first time the world witnessed the devastating power of an atomic bomb.
World War II occurred as a direct consequence of World War I. But the question arises, how did it begin again? Why was such a massive war fought once more in history? Why is Adolf Hitler considered responsible for World War II? How did Hitler's Nazi regime give rise to a global war? And how did the League of Nations, created to maintain world peace, fail so completely? World War II, also known as the Global War, was fought on an unprecedented scale, involving all major world powers. The world was divided into two major groups, similar to World War I. Earlier, the war was fought between the Allied powers and the Central powers. This time, it was between the Allied powers and the Axis powers. This war is also known as a total war because civilians were deeply involved. Before this, civilians were generally not direct targets of war. But in World War II, civilians were not spared. People supported their countries in every possible way.
As a result, nations began to consider ordinary citizens as part of the war effort.
Before this war, civilians were generally not considered direct targets, but in World War II, they were not spared. Civilians did everything they could to support their countries, which led nations to treat common people as part of the war effort. Armies bombed homes, hospitals, shelters, and public places to destroy civilian support systems. All countries used every resource against their enemies. Economies, industries, scientific capabilities, air forces, and armies were fully mobilized. There has also been debate about the official start date of the war. Some historians believe it began on September 1, 1939, while others consider the Sino-Japanese War of 1937 as its true beginning. The war ended in August 1945 after the atomic bomb attacks, when Japan surrendered. Approximately 60 to 80 million people lost their lives in World War II. Around 50 million were civilians, and about 25 million were soldiers. Never before or since have so many people died in such a short time, which is why this war is considered the deadliest conflict in human history. During World War II, the world was divided into two alliances. The first was the Allied powers, which included the United Kingdom, France, the United States, the Soviet Union, China, Poland, Yugoslavia, and Greece. The second was the Axis powers, which consisted of Germany, Italy, and Japan. It is important to note that Italy had fought alongside the Allied powers during World War I, but due to disagreements and dissatisfaction over outcomes and benefits, Italy later aligned itself with Germany and Japan.